Hi, and welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Eric, joined by Bevan
Hey.
for some more number 96, the Pantyhose Strangler. This is episode 6. What is it? 654 to 658,
Six,
I think.
yeah, 654 to 658.
Tell me roll the credits and we'll get into it. All right, so this week's person that stood out for me is your girl, Mother. Since you like her so much, I decided to do like
Me? Lonely.
a little a little a little blurb about her. So her name's Wendy Blacklock in real life. She's still alive. She's 92 years old. She was active from 1951 to 2014. She didn't do too many TV shows or movies. Number 96, it looks like, was the last thing she did TV wise. Um, what was I going to say? So yeah, she mainly did theater. Some of her theater things, her credits were Cinderella, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and a play called Gone Potty. So I had to make note of that, of course.
Well, like,
Um,
I mean, like a lot of, you can sort of. I've always thought that you can sort of tell when an actor's had like stage experience. It's just the way they
yeah,
tend to embody roles a little bit. Well, it's not better. I wouldn't say it's necessarily better or worse. It's just different.
it makes sense, and a lot of them do that. I mean, a lot of them start out in theater because they've done plays in high school, and everybody. I think Meryl Streep even started out in theater.
And especially
Um,
the bit like in Sydney and stuff like that. Yeah, Sydney and Melbourne, they're like still massive with it. Like they're the massive sort of cultural centers as far as like where all that stuff goes. Like of course it goes to other bigger cities as well, but
right.
we've only got a few really big ones.
Do you know the J.C. Williamson Award?
No,
Oh, okay. I figured it was an Australian thing. And it
it
probably is
might be.
because I never heard of it.
It could be,
I'm
but
guess
I haven't read about that one. No.
I'm guessing it's some kind of theater award. Well, anyway, she won one in 2003. I'm
That's
assuming
awesome.
it's I'm assuming it's kind of like a lifetime achievement award. I'm
Yeah.
assuming. I really don't know.
I'll have a look
Um,
into it. I'll look it up because I hadn't actually heard of it before. Like we've got our TV awards, like the Logies and all that, but like, yeah,
right, the Logies.
yeah. I haven't really followed too many like award shows. It's sort of like you hear about the announcements, say for the daytime Emmys or whatever, and I'm like, oh, cool. Like Days of Our Lives won something, like won one or something like that. That's sort of what I mean. Yeah, I'm
Right.
not the biggest follower of the award shows.
Yeah, I know. I am and I'm not. Um, but anyway, so episode 654 starts or continues with Dudley and Don having it out a little bit. Don's like accusing him basically of murder. Dudley's shocked about it, like, "Oh, how dare you accuse me?"
I kind of feel like
Um,
Dudley's like overstating it a little bit. Like, I feel like given like the sort of stuff that we like, even in past episodes, obviously we haven't seen them all, but I've had to sort of like bridge a few gaps here and there. Like Dudley has lied to him before, so just the
oh,
idea
okay,
that yeah, it's just like not. I mean, like they worked it out obviously, and yada yada yada. But just like the idea that you know,
I guess
when
it's
he's
like stupid
clearly
lies.
yeah, like, but he's sort of clearly caught in a lie that's kind of like serious, not so much. And I feel like, yeah, it's more serious in terms of the fact that someone was dead, you've been placed in the area, and blah blah blah. You know, stop being a dickhead basically and talk about it. Like,
Right.
yeah, but yeah, I just thought Dudley was a little bit much.
So Lucy and Alf are talking to Michael about using the beefcake clone. Um, now, didn't Lucy suspect him at
So
one
she
point?
sort of so it's that thing of where the TV show like leaves it open, but Lucy never like outright accused him. She's just like, oh, the smell. I smelt that up in the room, up in the in the unit, and like and then sort of like she's a little bit weirded out because Michael got caught in a lie because he went off and watched a porn film and didn't want to tell anybody. But like basically, like
Right.
after it sort of gets rolled out, I mean, like I don't. I think like Dudley is like probably closer to being accused of something only because he, as Alf also says that he thought he heard Dudley speaking with Lorelai in the Whittaker apartment. So like it's just like a little bit more an actual accusation rather than just like a creepy like what, which is I felt like
Yeah.
what it's sort of coming from.
Um, yeah, because I'm like, why would she like mention it in front of someone that she like thought might be the killer or whatever? She does.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, Les thinks the killer is like a psychopath. He's like, I don't think it's just like anybody thinks they're crazy.
yeah.
He
Because
tells
there's like
that to
no
Norma.
apparent motive. There's like no apparent motive, and he's like doing his little psychoanalysis that he usually, like.
Yeah.
I never actually noticed until I've started watching these again just how much people eat, especially Les. Like everyone is eating in this show all the time, and I'm kind of loving it. I'm like, wow, people are actually eating. Like,
Yeah, they don't eat
yeah,
on American soaps. They
beg your pardon.
don't eat on American soaps.
Yeah, like even the primetime ones, I'm like, oh, look at that salad. Like that looks
Yeah.
nice. What are you doing? Like,
Yeah, right. Um, Vera and Andy are talking about landscapes. She talks about like her. Is this where she mentions her dream?
yeah, is that the part where they're just like down in the bar? And I was because
Yeah,
yeah, like she's sort of like a little bit sort of still like feeling the spook from the nightmare, and he's sort of like, oh well, what happened? Like tell me about it, sort of thing. And she starts talking about it and all that, and he sort of kind of just laughs it off, like oh, that's a pretty wild nightmare, sort of thing, stuff like that.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's all like related to like that like what she thinks is like a weird sort of like what was it, like a hallway or something, the sad-eyed girl or something like
yeah. The
that.
sad-eyed
Yeah, just
girl.
a
Yeah,
bunch of sort of like kind of ominous weird, not weird, but like spooky sort of like vibes at the time.
yeah, yeah. She's like disturbed.
Mm.
Um, Flo and her talk about the jobs, and the baby. Dory mentions being the the prime suspects because they have the duplicate keys, and I guess it would be easy for them to break in and
well,
strangle people.
well, yeah, like the McDonald's, which is Mummy and Daddy and Marilyn, or like Reg, Edith and Marilyn. Their keys gone missing from the like the spare rack essentially because they're the
Hmm.
concierge of the building.
Right. Um, so yeah, it's missing. Like most recently, I guess they're thinking that the killer took the key to go in because both the girls have been blondes, young blondes,
Yeah,
and Marilyn would be in danger.
yeah, Marilyn like fits the profile.
Yeah. Mother wants Herb to take her to the ball because we already know that situation.
Yeah, yeah. She's getting upset
Um,
because Reg won't take her because he's going with Mrs. Bullock from the TH.
yeah, how about that whore? We'll
Yeah,
talk about her in a minute.
yeah.
Um, Les thinks Dudley is lying about where he was. Um, Vera questions Dudley about it. He goes to Alf and goes off on him. And Alf says that he saw him last week at Mascot. I don't know what that is.
So I think that's like just a location. So I think that's I think they mentioned that they're at the airport or something. So I'd say it's just an airport, like the airport
Oh.
name or something like that. Yeah.
Um,
I don't
Dory goes
recognize
to
too many of like the landmark names, but then again, I've never lived in Sydney, so I wouldn't know it.
right. Dory goes to the McDonald's about the missing key. Daddy says change the locks, and says that she's responsible for the key. She gets
You pay
all
for it.
she gets her panties in a bunch. But it's
Yeah,
true. She's responsible if they're in charge of the keys. Like, hello, replace the
yeah,
lock.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Dudley goes off on everyone at the bar because they think he's the killer, basically. Dory mentions um, her taking all the jobs last week. and Flo
Yeah, Herb and
from
Flo
their
taking
phone
it.
line.
Yeah, yeah.
Mother's on the phone with somebody, and then she answers the door. She grabs a knife before she answers the door, which kind of cracked me up. I like that Herb didn't like think anything of it. He's just like, "Oh, hey, what's up?"
Yeah,
But I
she's got
guess
like a knife there. Like, and she's
he's
like, "Oh,
like,
sorry. I thought you might have been the pantyhose strangler, but you know he wouldn't have knocked because he has a key."
right. But basically, Herb's coming by to take, and he says, "I'll take her to the ball."
Yeah, like so
Um,
Dory got a call from her sister who's recently widowed, and she sort of wants someone to spend, spend a couple of nights there. So Dory's like, okay, I'll do that.
Dudley tells Norma that the police want to see him about the will that Lorelai left them, and she left them everything, which was including $2,000,
Mm.
which is a good reason to want to kill someone. But how would he know? I feel like,
Yeah.
and
Well,
I don't know. I
I
feel like it's
think
not that good of enough reason.
no.
Does Dudley have money issues? Because I don't know.
Well, I
I
think
don't
it's
know.
more. I think it more just exacerbates the fact that he's obviously hiding something. So it's just like, so if everybody else, if he's not telling people what actually happened, and now this is sort of dropped in there, it kind of just looks bad. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I think it just adds to the idea, like, just adds to the thing of like Dudley has to just be honest, like, like escalating that, so he has to sort of reveal what he was doing.
I have Alf gets mad and sends Lucy and Michael away. That's all I got from that scene.
Which scene was that one? It might
It's
have been.
toward the it's toward the end of the first episode because
I'm trying to
Daddy
think of
gets
what.
home looking for Mother. Herb picks her up for the
Yeah, they go to
dance
the
or the
ball.
gala. Vera and Andy talk about her dream and her being a clairvoyant. She mentions the painting was part of a collection that was stolen last night. And that's all I have.
Oh yeah, so like Andy comes in and he's sort of spun out because the newspaper is talking about some fellow's private art collection, and that like the particular painting she was just, or the girl that she was describing was a painting, and they've got a picture of it in the newspaper, and she's just like, oh. And Andy had mentioned something to Don about the dream, and Don had told him about Vera supposedly being clairvoyant. So, and she's like obviously uncomfortable with that because people, well, look at her like she's kook.
Yeah, she's really disturbed by it. It's weird. Because
Mm.
I feel like I thought we already established this, and I feel like by episode 650 something, you should get it together, you know?
So,
But
if you
apparently it comes
remember,
and goes.
so there was a part there in, I think, the black and white episode, like 450. She meant, no, actually it was in the movie. She mentions her past when she's talking about the possible engagement to the soon to be prime minister guy.
Right,
And she mentions that she had that whole thing happen with like some black magic cult, so like
right.
I'd imagine that it's all tied into that. I'm actually going to look that up now because I'm seeing more connections across the thingo, but I don't know the actual in between bits because they obviously probably would have been all the missing episodes, essentially, not just the
Yeah.
ones that haven't been released, but the gone ones. But yeah,
We'll get
so
that
I'd
info
say,
for next week.
yeah, I will actually. No, because Vera's clairvoyancy plays out a little bit more, and it's sort of,
I
so she
figured.
yeah, so she briefly spoke about the experience, I think, to Maggie when she's talking about her history in the show, sorry, in the movie. So I'd say that probably alludes to why she's scared of it now. And if you remember too, right at the start, she was only reading cards and getting vibes. She wasn't having full blown vision dreams.
Right.
Yeah, so she's just like spooked out by it and doesn't really, yeah.
So episode 655, we have Don and Norma talking about Dudley in the will. Don apologizes to Dudley. Alf tells Don about Dudley going off on him because
Oh,
he's, I
yeah.
guess, he's kind of looking more and more suspicious. I feel like.
Yeah, yeah, and like cracking tantrums and stuff, and like Alf and Dudley have had that little confrontation where like he's just like, well, I did see you at the airport. It might not have been you in the apartment with Lorelai, but I definitely saw you at the airport. So,
Right.
yeah.
Patty and Arnold are talking about money again. He's feeling neglected, and they bang. Um, I have Daddy and Mrs. Bullock, who is April, I believe. Um,
She has actually. It's some. I think it's April. It's she's got a longer first name, but April works fine.
okay, yeah, they only call her April. They just said Mrs. Bullock, April Bullock, whatever.
Yeah,
From what I've seen, anyway. Um,
I just
they're
remember calling
together.
her Mrs. Bullock because she looks like one. She looks like a woman who that's her last name, definitely.
She seems to be into Daddy, because
But
he's like nerdy and she likes nerds, I guess. She seems kind of nerdy too.
there's that whole conversation they have after the ball when they come in for like a drink, and he's like talking about his thesis about how essentially like everything in the past is essentially like inheriting like all the garbage from the past. So he's just like
Yeah.
history is garbage. It's just such a weird little like story. And she's like, and that's why you're going to be the one to work with me. That's why we're going to be partners because she's really
Yeah.
drunk. She's
Yeah,
very
she
drunk.
is. I'm expecting her to get strangled for some reason. I just feel it. Mommy and Herb get home. They had a blast and they sing some weird song that I don't know. I'm assuming it's an Australian song of some sort.
Yeah. I don't know the song, but I presume it's like an old one that like they all
Yeah.
dance to. But she's wasted as well. She's drunk.
Yeah.
I love it when he
Um,
just gets drunk though. She's so funny. Like
this one, I wasn't sure. I started it because I didn't know what was happening. So Flo tells Les to hit up the number for a worker while at the store because this is when they're looking. This is where mommy comes into play, I think, or
so
something.
like I think that they just needed help in the bar, and
Yeah,
Rose like giving him advice, and then Mummy comes through and she ends up taking the opportunity. And Les, of
yeah.
course, regardless of experience, just sees the extra um, hand at work. Obviously, that's going
She
to and this drives Norma a little bit mad. Oh my god,
she looks so different. I couldn't even tell it was her.
you're right. She does. She's got, like the big perm wig, the titties up. Like,
Yeah. So yeah, Lens hired her to work at the bar. April Bullock comes over to Daddy, wants to do lunch, and I put
Mm.
maybe more because it seems like she wants to jump his bones like every time she sees him.
I love the way Marilyn just teases everyone. Like she just comes through and just chucks shit, and she knows exactly what this woman is all about. Like,
Yeah.
uh, it is the weird. Okay,
Dory.
so on a side note, it is the weirdest little. It is kind of like a weird affair, but it's the most bizarre soap affair I've ever seen. You'll see how it plays out. It's freaking weird.
um, Dory calls. Dory's not in like the next four episodes, and I'm guessing she was on vacation. I don't know.
No.
Back burner.
She went to her sister's because her
Well, no,
sister
I
is
meant
recently with
in
her.
real life. She was probably just like on
Oh, yeah,
vacation or back burnered.
yeah.
So she calls. She's basically like catching us up on the storyline. Because Herb's like, yeah, this and that, and just mentioning all the stuff that's happening.
Yeah.
So I put story update. Um, Lucy and F leaves the bar. I guess they were just there drinking or whatever. Norma is mad. Mother is working there.
Oh, that's right. Because Alf is laughing at Mummy running around the bar, serving
Yeah.
everybody, and she can't remember drinks and stuff.
April and Daddy get there, and Mother gets to their table, and she like waits on them.
He has
I would
no.
have liked to have. I would have liked to have seen that interaction, but they cut to like the next scene. It's annoying because then so we get like Alf finds a bracelet that's Patty's. Did Graham
Yeah,
give her that bracelet?
yeah. This Graham character has given her the bracelet, and
The paraplegic man that she's taking care of.
yeah.
Um, at home, Daddy goes off on Mother. See, like we didn't get to see that scene. I think it would have been funny, but whatever. I guess not. they didn't.
I
They didn't have that scene.
I do still like how the indignancy, like the way he's so indignant. He's like, you could have like ruined my career, mother. Like, and she's just like, oh, daddy, I just dressed up like I did for the play, like, and he's
It
like,
still
very
bothers the shit
typical.
out of me that they call each other mother and daddy. It drives me nuts. I just don't like that.
Uh,
It's so annoying. April comes over, tells Daddy to do dinner with her.
yeah,
She has no shame. She does it in front of them, like she don't give a shit.
yeah.
Patty and
Well,
Patty and
she starts to give she starts to give Edith a few little jobs here and there, like suggests things to like I think that happens around this episode because it plays out over the next two or three.
yeah, Dudley said he says he's going to move to the spare room. Don says his sister Carol's coming to stay there, and that's basically how it ended.
Yeah, because he's getting all upset because he's like, "Oh, you don't believe me. You don't believe me." And then he sort of turns around and says, "Okay, I did lie, but what I was doing was my business." I'm just like,
I feel like we're pulling more characters in to get murdered because I'm like, okay, Carol's going to die. I just keep thinking like all these people are going to die, and nobody dies in these five, which kind of got on my nerves. I'm like, I want like one a week. I
well,
thought for sure there'd be another death, but there was not
there's
yet.
another, there's more stuff like that in the next five.
We'll see. So episode 656, Dudley basically says to Don, mind your business.
Yeah.
Mentions Jan. I didn't know what he was talking about. He's talking about it, Jan and Ben, and he wanted, I don't know all
So,
this stuff.
so with Dudley's past, Dudley's bisexual. And
Okay.
so this is a woman that he had pretty sure he had a relationship with at another point. Um, and what was it? And even though but Dom was more worried about this, well, not more worried, but like he didn't want to tell him about like because Alf said that he thought that there was like a guy there. I don't know how he managed to like confuse a child with like a grown ass man, but whatever.
Right. Right.
Yeah. But it turns out to be like the woman's son or something like that. And it was just like them coming through and saying goodbye to I think one of Dudley's relatives. So
But
like
this is but this is
this is
where
not
the
his
lie
son.
comes in. It wasn't in Melbourne, Burn, right?
No,
Right.
they went from Sydney and I think went to see his relative. Yeah.
Yeah. And he swears that he didn't do it.
Yeah.
Um, Andy and Vera talk about the $10,000 reward for the missing paintings.
Mm.
Patty and Arnold come over to their table and leave. They don't really do anything. I like just wrote note because I thought they were going to do something.
Well, I think it's more of
Vera's,
like just like that they're in a good place because they're like, oh, we're having like date night, and then we're gonna go home and spend the evening in bed, and then
yeah,
so,
for
like
5 minutes.
yeah,
Vera says she doesn't want to talk about her dream. She just is over it.
yeah,
Aldo and Roma basically have the same storyline this whole time. Um, they talk about her son and the money still. Nothing really changed here. April is distracting Edith to get to Daddy. That's what I put, I think.
well, that's pretty much what
Um,
it is.
yeah, she's like, here, I got this for you to do, and me and Daddy can go somewhere else or whatever.
Yeah,
Patty and Stuart. Who's Stuart? Or
Stuart.
can I? Is there a Stuart?
No, there might be Graham because she does get asked about Graham and stuff like that, and she's sort of
I have
trying to.
Patty and Stuart talk to Tracy about their date. What's not Stuart? His name's not Stuart.
No,
What's his
if you're talking
name?
about her
There's like
husband, it's Arnold.
Arnold. Is it Arnold?
If you're talking about the dude with the glasses, that's Arnold.
Maybe. I
Arnold
guess
Fetter.
so. Yeah, that's probably who I'm talking about. I
Well,
don't know
it's
why I called him
actually.
Stuart.
I mean, that's a good boy name, I guess. Like, oh, well, you think, well, all my children, come on, Stuart and Arnold are kind of similar and like different, obviously acted, but same sort of personality. Come on. Like,
I don't know. I guess maybe I was tired when I saw this, or I just forgot his name.
yeah, this is
Um,
what happens when you're juggling like 18 soap operas at one time.
yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I'm pretty
and
sure that scene. I'm pretty sure that scene was with Arnold only because it
okay,
establishes that Tracy hadn't been in a couple of episodes, and it's because she's been on night shift. So
right. And
yeah, and
Tracy basically says that Graham is taking advantage of Patty,
yeah,
which we kind of see happen in a little bit.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Roma Roma goes to Don about her son just for like legal advice. Nothing exciting.
What would happen if she
Um,
spent the money, blah, blah, blah. And that
yeah.
she had to explain what it was for, and yada, yada, yada.
Marilyn remembers something a bit. Gosh, my notes are crazy. About some dude wanting to sail around the world with all girls.
Yeah, so Lorelai was like apparently talking to some sort of rich older bloke who wanted to like who had a boat, and he was basically like, "Come sail around the world with me."
They called him
And
like a pervert.
yeah, well, that's what Marilyn says, but she says Lorelai seemed to be kind of like into it, but the guy was a bit pervy, sort of thing. And then you have
Right.
Dudley, who also heard the same story that, but Lorelai was actually interested in going. So I think one is kind of like Marilyn's perception of it, and the other one's a little bit like Dudley's her actual friend, though. So I
I
feel like,
picture I picture like a Hugh Hefner type. Like he's like the head of the Playboy Mansion,
yeah,
or
yeah,
was. Um, Carol comes. It's Don's baby sister that we
yeah.
established. Dudley comes out. She says she's in love with a man named Brad Hilton.
Mm,
Does he come on?
he does.
Okay. Mr.
Mm,
Scott,
and
he's an insurance dude, and Andy come by Vera's.
mm,
She tells them about her dream reluctantly because she doesn't want to talk about it. She mentions Laramis Street,
yeah, it's
some high
I
brick
can't remember.
wall, paling fence, silver spaceship thing, paintings, and strange little girl.
Like
All
she
this
walks
stuff.
into the shed area and there's this sad little girl in there, and it's like
Yeah,
really weird.
I like how they did this for like 1974 or five. Like I thought it was really cool. They had like, yeah, it was like her face, and then they had like an image, like a dream, like sequence next to her, and I really like that. I'm like, I wish they would do that. They kind of do that on Young and the Restless now.
Well, you know what I was gonna say? It actually kind of gave me the vibe on like how you talk about like shit. Oh, sorry, stuff that happens in Edge of Night, like the way like. And I just thought because I haven't watched really a whole lot of that yet, but like just on the vibe that it's the same sort of era, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of like
Yeah,
spooky stuff going down, and like I don't know, like number 90, I find that the old shows have this, the way they do it is a little spooky because it's all about the story and they've got to be scary. You've got to have
right.
the rather than completely relying on effects or like the actual play out of the dream sequence. But I agree, like
You
I like
know,
this stuff. It adds to the
it,
atmosphere.
the only thing that I mean, the theme song is funny, like for the number 96. Um, but I feel like it doesn't match with the dramatics of it. Like I'm like, because like, for example, when the movie happens, I think I might have talked about it. Like Vera is like savagely raped basically in the beginning, and then they go to this hokey song, and I'm like, I just
Yeah, she's like, ah, no, and then it's like, dun, dun,
I'm
dun,
like,
na, na, na.
I'm like, this is so bizarre. Whatever.
Yeah. No, like
But
shows though, I think that's like a part of its charm. It's like this weird, campy, sort of like vaudevillian humor type non
it
like
is.
craziness, like
It is very fun. Marilyn and Michael went to the police about that dude. But they didn't show that. They just like talked about it.
yeah.
Um, I have the people at the bar just talking about the murders. Carol, Don, Dudley, and Tracy. Nothing exciting happened there.
No, it's
Um,
just like the idea that it's still there and everybody's still wondering.
Aldo, Aldo was worried about Roma. She
Mm,
was rejected for a $40,000 loan, which is what she needed to make $100,000 to get her son out of trouble.
yeah.
She needs to do tough love, dude. Like, let your son go to jail and be scared, and because it sounds like he's been at twerp most of his life.
Yeah, well, like
Um,
I'm pretty sure they did establish that like she's given him a fair bit of money in the past. Well, that's how he was paying it
yeah,
back through the embezzlement that he was doing.
like
He was giving him,
right,
yeah,
with bad like criminal money, basically.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, she can't. She doesn't have anything to collateral, so they just reject her.
yeah.
Um, I have said to Arnold, it's her. Arnold. Oh, does she talk to
So
Arnold?
yeah, she does. So Arnold offers to essentially put up his stake in the delicatessen as collateral, which is like about 10 grand. And then he mentions something about maybe getting Aldo to do his, and she's like, no, 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 don't tell Aldo about anything. Like this is like my problem type thing, you know?
Right. Um, Patty says she has to stay at Graham's because he had a seizure, so he needs her, and that's where, the taking advantage thing is coming into play. He might have
Yeah.
faked the seizure, who knows? They do that all the time at the hospital because they don't want to leave,
Yeah.
believe it or not. Vera and Don talk about their issues. Um, wait, who? Somebody's been in Monte Carlo. Oh, the guy that they blamed, that
Yeah, the
Marilyn
guy
blamed, has been in Monte Carlo for 3 weeks.
yeah,
So wasn't him.
no.
Daddy hears something, like at the door, and he like runs outside. He runs downstairs, and Don's like going into his apartment, and
Yeah.
that's the end of that episode, pretty much. So
Well, because he thinks like someone must have like because he hears someone trying to
try to
like
get in.
yeah, so he checks, and the only person that's anywhere is Don, and Don like he's like, oh, you would have just seen someone run past right now. Who were they? And he's like, I didn't hear anybody.
Yeah. So he's looking a little suspicious now. I feel like everybody's going to be like a red herring at some point.
Well, that's how you do a murder mystery.
Of course. Episode 657. Daddy goes to the steps. No one. Don says no one passed them. Nobody saw anything. There's nobody around except for Don.
Hmm.
We have Lucy making dinner. She talks to Michael about his brother. Says her and Alf are like family to him. I guess he doesn't get along with his brother.
Yeah, so like his dad's gone now, and like his brother is pretty much the only like direct family that he really has. So like, and they don't get along. So
Norma, Les, and Herb and Flo talk about the murders and the key situation. No movement. It's like a lot of filler, I feel like. Vera and Andy go to the street she dreamed of. They're only there for a few minutes and then they leave.
no,
They
but he
didn't
does.
really
They point out no, they point out like
the
that this is
spaceship thing.
yeah, which was like just a caravan or whatever next door or something. It looked like that's
Right.
what it looked like to me, something like that. But it was just a sort of like her dream, like there's actual real places, like her dreams, like her like it's not just a dream. I think it's more
Right.
like Andy spinning out a bit too. Like he's just like, wow, this is all like a real thing.
Yeah. Aldo and Roma discuss the money that she is sending her son. She's trying to sell all her stuff or wants to pawn it all. Um, Herb and Flo show the painting to Les, that they were in the basement and they think they're sitting on a fortune.
Yeah, so they come across these paintings, weirdly enough.
Right.
And yeah, and they sort of ask Les, because Les is Mr. Know-it-all, and all that sort of stuff, like whether or not like they're valuable, like where do they come from? Like, do you know who they are? Like sorry, like who made them and stuff like that. This does tie back to other stuff though, and I'm not 100%. I'm even waiting for this to play out a little bit because I don't actually remember this plot line, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned it as a part of the bridging of the gap between the beginning and the movie, and I
Okay.
thought that it had already played out, but I'm just waiting to see because if it is, this is about Vera's husband.
Oh, interesting.
If it's the right
Um,
plot, it sounds like the same one. But like I said, I don't directly remember, so I'm still
right.
kind of keen to see it play out.
Alrighty. Vera talks to Norma about her dreams.
Mm,
Um, that there was like an art theft.
yeah,
Les comes back. Vera bumps into Andy. They found the paintings. She runs upstairs crying because she doesn't want to deal with her clairvoyancy.
yeah,
So bizarre. Michael wants to pay more money to stay with Lucy and Alf. He's only paying like $8, I think, and he wants to pay 10.
yeah. I don't know. It was something crazy. Like,
Like
I'm
a
like,
weird side story. I'm like, okay.
okay, yeah,
Um,
Oh no, because
Les,
it leads into that conversation between Michael and Alf because Lucy says that she's going to have to talk to Alf about it.
oh, okay. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
that leads to something. I'm pretty sure. By the way, but either way,
Okay.
we'll keep going because
Les,
we'll get to that.
Les, Flo, and Herb look at the paintings. Les wants to call the police at first, and then he's like, if we wait a little bit longer, maybe they'll up the ante for
Yeah.
up from $10,000 to $15,000. So like, should we hold on to him? Whatever. Vera, Andy, Norma, and Tracy suspect Don. Um, since he was in the hall when Daddy was chasing whoever was breaking in. Nobody else was around, so who else would it be?
Mm.
Roma wants to look into migrating, which I don't know what that means.
Migrating, so she wants to go overseas. Like she wants to move countries. This is all over her
Oh,
son.
okay.
She is starting to get to the point where she's like overdoing it a little bit, you know,
Right.
like wanting to like completely jump up and move just to support him and stuff like that, like yada yada yada. And you think about something like an international move in the 70s, like she'd be going from Australia to the US, like just it's a big that would be a big sort of expense at the time, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a big expense now, but like just, you know.
This confused me. Tracy finds a current postcard from Andy's wife.
So the date on the
And
postcard.
where would he be? Where was he the night of the murder, basically?
Yeah, so he turned around and he said to her the reason why he couldn't take her to that hospital ball was because he was supposedly at work. Well, then she
Mm,
questions about it because he wasn't at work. He says he was there talking to his wife about a divorce, and like you know, a fairer, a more he was going to give up more to it, give her more inclination to like want the divorce faster or whatever. And
okay.
then she pulled out this postcard that's basically the exact date that he was supposed to have been seeing her. But yeah, and the postcard's from his wife, but from Tokyo on the 8th, which is when it would have been sent, not when he received it. And which means he wasn't obviously talking to his wife on the night.
Hmm.
So she's like, "Where the
See,
hell were you?"
everybody's hiding something.
Yeah,
Flo comes to tell Les and Herb that the paintings were found. So those other paintings were not the paintings that. So now there's like two sets of paintings, which I
yeah.
thought was weird, and I'm very confused.
That's okay.
Alpha
It'll
and
play out.
Michael, Alpha and Michael talk about the paying of the $10. $10 a week now. Michael mentions his dad's will and being away. I was confused by this, so I leave it up to you.
So his dad left him some house up in Kurrajong, which I presume is because I think they said they were from New Zealand. So Kurrajong was, I assume, is somewhere over there. They've got like a little house or a unit or something that he's going to sell, but
Michael's dad, right?
um,
Has a
yeah, through his
house.
dad.
Yeah.
But like, he's still waiting for all the legals to essentially play out. And Alf mentions that he didn't know he had a place in Kurrajong, and Michael responds with, "Oh, you and like Aunt Lucy went up there." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" "No, I didn't." And he's like, "Yeah, you went up there to see Dad." "No, I didn't." "No, I didn't." And then it's sort of, yeah. I'm not 100% sure, but I do think that actually, I'm not, yeah, that plays out. No, because Lucy sort of palms it off as well. So, like,
At
I'm
some
pretty
point.
sure there was, yeah, yeah. I don't remember the end,
So
so I'm actually keen to see how that plays out again.
so we get into episode 658 and it picks up the same spot. It's that Kurajong, Michael's dad has a place there. I put
Yeah.
um, mother is doing money stuff. I don't know what she's doing. This is where
So
I was like
yeah, so
really like
basically the last couple of episodes we have Edith being bombarded with all these sort of like council duties and like these little like event management duties and stuff like that. So like at
from
first,
April.
yeah,
To
yeah, sorry, beg your pardon. Yeah, April's like overdoing it to keep her busy. And
distract her, yeah.
yeah, and it's things like dealing with what did she call it? Like the geriatric or like the geriatric friggin' rehabilitation people or something. and then there's like these like gum nut people like shit, like all this insane stuff, and she's just getting very confused and like she's out of her depth because it's like, you know, it's all money stuff. And theater, she's doing local theater as well for the older people, and she's freaking out because of Cleopatra, like the old girl playing Cleopatra has hurt herself and is now threatening to sue and like all this dumb stuff.
Right.
But essentially, yeah, it's all there to keep Edith busy, so
She
Miss
can.
Bullock can screw around with Daddy. And then, you know, Marilyn is just on it.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, she's trying to get Daddy. She wants Daddy. Well, of course she does, dear. He's so very good at his job. And it's like, no.
Dudley, Dunn, and Carol they're talking about the murders too. And she mentions that her man does not like gays.
Yeah.
So why would she date him then? Your brother's gay. Like, that's an asshole person to me.
Man, I guess homophobia was like, they'd be like, oh, you know, you can't blame him type thing. I don't know, man. I wasn't alive in 1974. Like,
me neither, thank God. 4 years later, I was though.
I just assume that like general prejudice is ingrained enough where it was sort of accepted that like your partner probably. So the thing is like I could see that situation maybe playing out where he would be okay with Don to a degree because he's family, but he wouldn't be okay with like Dudley. You know what I mean? But Don's not exactly. Like, this is the thing too, like she mentions in an earlier episode that she always knew Don was a little camp, and I always loved this because Don is the most non-campus gay dude I've kind of ever really seen on a TV show. He is just so chill and not like any sort of stereotype, you know, maybe because they probably weren't as predominant or in media by that point at that point at all. I don't know, but like I just find it funny because you've got Dudley, who's more of the camp one, and then you have Don. Like, there's this weird dynamic there, and I really like it actually because it's broader than you'd think, just in two portrayals.
Right.
But I digress.
I don't have like too many other notes on this one. I feel like it was a lot of filler stuff. They keep talking about these keys.
So it is like
so point out like the main things from this episode.
So like the main things that I take from it is that Alf is like, what the hell with Lucy? Because she palms off when he asked her about it. So he does ask her without going off or whatever, and like about it sort of thing. And she's like, oh, Alf, you know, I don't have time to be going on holiday homes or whatever it was. You know, she just sort of palms it off. You have the mummy and daddy hilarity playing out, and they sort of take up a fair bit of the comedy in this. And you're right, it is a lot of filler. What else?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. There's just like little like things with Patty and Arnold. You know, just the normal stuff like where. You know,
what was the stuff with Alf in the picture? Does that lead to anything?
I think that's his. I think that's Michael's dad. So I'm pretty sure that's because that's an older bloke. Okay. I'm pretty sure that's Michael's dad. So he's looking at him, going like, "What the hell?" I
have Alf lays down, grabs a book called Passion's Fool, and takes the dude's picture out.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably Michael's dad.
Yeah.
But that also plays out because that's sort of towards the later part of the episode. What else? You have Marilyn just wising up and trying to tell Edith that like but Mrs. Bullock is after Daddy. Yeah,
April comes over again. She tries to take him out. She's like, Edith, you don't mind, do you?
Yeah. And then
she's dating her husband basically.
Yeah. They go over sort of like Don being a suspect and like how where the key was. So because Norma comes across the key that Les lost, and he's like, "Oh, is this like what happened when Lorelai died?" She's like, "No, we've lost this over the last couple of days, and it's just appeared in an envelope." Where did it appear? Well, actually, right over where you were sitting, Ducky. Like, you know, and all that sort of. So it's a lot of like the sort of general, it is filler and like leaving it all open and like suspects galore and just sort of establishing things too, like with Don's sister, because she is talking about that Brad fellow again, and I can't remember exactly when, but he does come into it.
And the episode ends with who was it? Marilyn goes to the
Yeah,
door and there's like a present outside, and
yeah. So
she
they're all
opens it and it's like pantyhose tied in a knot.
yeah, and she's like, oh,
And
doing the
that's it.
whole the big shriek. Is she the next victim? Maybe.
Yeah, that's all we got. I wanted more deaths. I wanted a death every week, or two, or three, or four.
Well, it's like the whole arc plays out over 32 episodes. So if you're looking at that, even if on a 5 day a week schedule, that's still a month. So we've gone through what, 10?
Yeah, I think we only gone through 10.
So that'd be 2 weeks worth of episodes.
Yeah,
If you're looking at it like a 5 day thing, because I actually think their viewing schedule was like either 4 or 5 days a week for like a good portion of its run, and then I think they did it like maybe 3 times a week towards the end.
right.
But yeah, and I think that's because I think about it, and I was like, if you had like the daytime filming schedule of now, you would be looking at like 250 shows a year, you know. But like even
Yeah,
Sons and Daughters, which was started in 1981, I think it was 81, no, 82. Its first season was only like 170 episodes, so like I presume things were done a little bit differently. The episode counts are a bit different, maybe. But yeah,
yeah. All right. Anything else to add on these episodes?
no, just that there's a lot of sort of like, we've obviously got the storyline of the killer established. This typical comedic stuff playing out, and we are
Yeah,
sort of seeing the establishment of a couple of new characters that will sort of be in the
will be
next
murdered.
episodes. Maybe not, but yeah, no, like,
I
um,
think they're going to be murdered.
who the killer who the killer actually is good. I like it. I do like it. And something that Les said that is, but like it's not a spoiler. It's not a spoiler. But when he's like the whole idea of it being a psychopath and all that, he's right. There is no real reason.
Well, that's a spoiler.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Because no reason enough can be motive enough, you know? As
Hmm.
you're saying, psychopaths don't need a reason. That's all the reason they need. But either
They
way,
just like killing.
it's still good. It ends very dramatically, and it's like it's decent.
Well, they're not killing enough for me. I would like more death.
So like it's not like a massacre like Days of Our Lives 2000, late 2003 or 4. But like,
Right.
it's
That's
still
what
like
I
a
was hoping there'd be like a death every week or two deaths a week.
no. There's no like
I expected
nine,
more.
10. There's no 9, 10 dead people. Though I think there's like the next arc after, oh sorry, because we go Pantyhose Strangler and then Aftermath of Murder, which carries on for the next 32 episodes, and then we got
Right.
the bomb and all that. The bomb stuff is fun too,
Alright.
and I
Well,
actually did tear up a little bit.
we'll wrap this episode up of Queers and Soaps. Thanks for joining us today. We'll bring more to you in the coming weeks. Subscribe, like, and comment on things. Let us know what you think. If you watched the show before, let us know if you liked it. What did you like about it? Who your favorite characters are?
If you're
Tell us
watching
something,
along now,
people. Yeah, it's on YouTube. And DVD.
yes.
Farewell,
See
everyone.
you guys.
Bye.